we had some brief technical difficulties and a phone call from my doctor. So, moving on. No, we were in the middle of talking about Brie Larson and Captain Marvel, and you were actually hating on people hating on it.
What, on Brie Larson?
No, on the trailer. Like, you don't get why these people are fucking hating on this trailer.
I'm not hating on them. I mean, I get it because it is kind of blood because they are really just doing plot points, but it's a teaser trailer. The fuck do you want?
Yeah, that's true. But she has been supposedly, which I need to watch. She has been doing supposedly a bit of press, like some interviews and shit. And so I'm curious what she's saying. And sometimes you get a little bit more out of them that way. You know, a little bit of a direction and shit like that. But that's cool. We know for sure she's going to be in the next Avengers because it's the only fucking hopeful point in the end in the whole fucking movie is that pager, right? So she has to be in the next Avengers. And speaking of which, that was one of the other items that I actually wanted to talk about, which is we'll get back to it maybe a little later. Was supposedly massive reshoots for Avengers, the next one. And there's been some commentary by some of the people in it saying that that they don't even know what the ending is because there's been a lot of false scripts and stuff like that. But even according to the Russos, that the ending hadn't fully come together.
Right on. Well, hopefully no one tells Ruffalo.
or Tom Holland, right? Ironically, I've been watching a lot of the interviews.
Holland, I think, is in on it now.
Yeah, Holland, they do a lot of shit on him. Like they fucking put a lot of controls around him so he doesn't know certain shit. But one of the funniest little interviews I saw was an interview with Tom Holland and Benedict Cumberbatch, right? And in the middle of it, Tom Holland goes, "Well, you know about that thing," and he goes, "What thing?" And they're referring to that the big infamous 10th anniversary photo shoot, right? And then also I think Thor Ragnarok. I think it was Ragnarok or Infinity War. I forget which one. But Tom Holland turns, he goes, "No, but don't you know?" He goes, "Don't you know the Ruffalo like broadcast the first 20 minutes?" And he's like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, he came in with his phone and he live cast it and left it on." And so he was live casting the entire first 20 minutes of the movie, you know. This is Tom Holland saying this, and I was like, "That's fucking funny." And then of course they both brought up Vin Diesel, who did the same thing about the secret event with again Ruffalo. It was Vin and Ruffalo were the ones that were like selfie videoing the big 10-year anniversary massive photo shoot.
Yeah.
That no one's supposed to talk about. Oh man.
Ruffalo definitely gave out the most spoilers. The funniest one that I've seen with Tom Holland is when he's uncovering his the poster on Instagram.
Oh, what's that? What does he do there?
He does a little unboxing video for Avengers 4. And he unboxes the poster, shows it. He's like, "Oh shit, look, so cool, so awesome." And then he reads the paper that says, like basically don't show it to anybody. He's like, "Oh shit," and then he cuts off his camera real quick.
That's fucking funny, dude. Oh my god. Yeah, I definitely, those things made me grow to like him more. He's humanized a lot, and you see how he is. But yeah, it's funny. He's like, yeah, they kind of censor me now. Yeah, like they actively make sure Tom Holland doesn't know shit, which is, I think, fucking hysterical.
The best one though is still Ruffalo doing his interview with Don Cheadle.
Oh, is that the one where he says so and so dies?
Yeah, he was like, "Everyone dies," and Don Cheadle gets pissed.
I know,
like,
he goes, "What?" I know he's sitting next to him. What was that? That was Jimmy Kimmel,
at D23 right? Or something. No, that was D23.
Yeah, he's like, "Dude," and he goes, "Oh, everyone dies." Oh well. It's like at this stage, like I think it's actually reached the point now, the saturation point now, that in a lot of ways I think it's pointless to go through all these excess hoops to try and hide shit. It's just in the age of social media, it's impossible, man. You know, like this morning, for example, set photos have leaked, and actually we forgot about that since we're talking about trailers. We'll add that little Joker thing, but set photos from Spider-Man: Far From Home have leaked, and then there's tons of speculation because he's wearing a black Spider-Man suit, and so the immediate leap to is, oh, Venom, right? But I heard some good arguments that no, it's probably just a stealth suit, like one of the technologies of his suit, But
there's always going to be leaks, but come on, the only people that really pay attention to those types of things are the nerds.
Yeah, that's true.
The average moviegoer doesn't know that shit when they go in,
and they don't care. I think they don't care. You can be pleasantly surprised. Sometimes it can be to your advantage. Like I remember, I definitely was one of the people that saw the leak of the work print leak of Wolverine. Was it X-Men Origins Wolverine? God, and I remember watching this going, this sucks. As far as the movie goes, I go, this is not a good movie. And obviously, finished effects didn't make it any better. Oh man! But can ruin the fantasy too, and vice versa. Like I told you before with was it Dogma? I think it was Dogma. That I read the script of it, and it just was not funny at all reading it. Yeah. And then I watched it and was like, fuck, this is actually, now I see it. Now it's humorous.
Yeah, so, I pay attention to the leaks. I definitely don't go too deep into them.
Especially if you give a shit, right?
Yeah, like I'll see set photos leaked for whatever, but I won't click on it.
Oh, okay. So did you end up watching that Joker leak, the set footage?
I didn't watch the footage, but I had already seen the
stills
picture of it. Yeah, the stills. He looks like Bill Hader. In clown makeup. I was like, oh shit, he just looks like Bill Hader.
Could be. Oh man. But he definitely purely is the Joker, I guess. He's in there in the purple suit and the makeup.
Yeah, right, the makeup didn't look all that great to me.
I think that's an early iteration of it, of the makeup. And part of me makes me think that this might be a prequel to the Heath Ledger version of it. That's what my first thought was. It was either that one or the direction they might be going is the which they actually do in the Gotham TV show, but it's really bad. Which is where Joker loses his face.
Yeah,
I was thinking it might do that because it's supposed to be an origin story, regardless. But I think it would be really dope if they just ended it and you actually see the cuts, and then you're like, oh shit, this is a Nolan prequel, and you just leave it there. No follow-up film, no nothing. You just kind of hinted us at how the psychology for that character was built.
Yeah, I'm really not interested in the movie at all. And it's because of that. Joker is one of those characters to me to where the less you know, the scarier he is, the more effective he is.
Yeah, and that's actually what made Ledger's version of him so interesting. Like, he gave you 5 different variations on his origin story, and you're like, fuck. I thought that was awesome in that depiction, and the fact that it actually had an ideology. That entire sequence in the hospital where he's explaining himself to who has become Two-Face, to Harvey Dent, right? That, I was just like, fuck, man, you fucking, I bow to your greatness at the writing of this.
Moments. Even when he's, hanging, about to fall to his death, his little speech there was dope. Mm-hmm. The speech when he has the prisoners that was my favorite scene, when he has the prisoners on the ferries.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about chaos.
And he goes, to upset the established order. Or even the other one's like, do I look like I have do I look like someone that has a plan? It's just, and then, yeah, even the interrogation scene, he's like, oh no, he goes, we've changed everything, right? You've changed everything to fucking Batman. That was fucking, I gotta rewatch that movie now. Make me want to re-see just those scenes.
Yeah, it was a good movie. In other news, though, let's talk about the shows that were announced.
Well, for Marvel has announced that they're going to be doing a Loki, a Scarlet Witch, and a Spider-Man television series or streaming series, since no one really broadcasts on TV. And most likely, because I haven't read the whole thing, and there's also there's a Variety is reporting this, and also there's a Bob Iger interview as well that is in Hollywood Reporter that's worth reading as well. That these will be for the streaming service, the Disney streaming service, and that they're going to get, I assume, seasons. So it's going to be a Scarlet Witch, Loki, with the actual actors from the films. That's actually what it says in the article. And Spider-Man. One of the things that there is no denial. There was in it, like they asked for comment from Marvel, and Marvel did not deny it, also did not confirm it. But it was not normally, even when they, you know how they do it, there's that diplomatic way of saying things that you can apply in one direction or the other. And in this one, they didn't imply in the negative. So it seems highly likely that this is going to be what we're getting.
Interesting. Was that Spider-Man show confirmed?
Well, none of it's confirmed. It's all inside information, right? So, but it is part of what was reported. It was like a follow-up.
Well, I'm just asking because I didn't actually see the Spider-Man one being reported. But that's interesting, especially because the whole rights thing with Sony. I wonder who's actually going to be producing it.
Yeah, that was one of the ones that caught me off guard, because what that also could be, depending on how it, the daisy chain that is the rumor mill, that could just be something that someone planted, because I definitely was thinking about that too. I'm like, well, wait a minute, how the fuck would Sony do that? And unless maybe Sony cut a deal with Disney that says, hey, we want to put our movies on your service, I could easily see that totally being to the benefit of Sony, right? Especially since they have a gaggle of Spider-Man films.
Well, not only that, but they also have the TV series.
Yeah.
Their animated series.
And so, like, it actually, I guess Disney would need to do that because he is a marquee character. He just is. And so I could definitely see Disney cutting a deal to be able to do it that's advantageous to them. Because I don't think Sony's probably going to get into a streaming business thing. Except if they did, maybe they might do such a thing in Japan itself.
No, but if they wanted to, well, I guess it would still work out. They just do different iterations of Spider-Man.
Or a platform-based thing, too. Because what if they made a platform deal for the streaming service for the PlayStations?
Yep, that'd be dope.
So, I mean, there's a lot of different, functioning elements there. And then the other part of this deal that was important is that, and this is really in that Bob Iger interview, is Bob Iger, there's been periodic reports that when pieced together, you actually see a new picture of the future. And the new picture of the future is basically that they're consolidating Marvel over at Disney. And that includes the Fox properties. And he overtly says in his interview that no, it's Feige. Feige is going to be in charge of the whole thing. He is the visionary that's going to run the whole shit. And so as a result of that, that means Marvel Television is going to come back under Marvel Studios versus Marvel Entertainment. Now, I don't know if that applies to anime. think probably animation will be outside of that because they just don't have the fucking bandwidth for that. You know, it's hard enough doing films. But yeah, that's the in the Bob Iger interview, what he's been putting out also is he was talking about these things have to happen in part because some Fox people are in limbo in terms of their production teams and stuff like that. Because if they don't do it, if they don't do some, you know, kind of declarative, clear-cut way of doing things, you're leaving these people dangling, and inevitably it just means they're going to implode. So they're going to dissolve entirely, and you end up with chaos. Versus, okay, we're going to incorporate your team and just improve our capacity, if you will, to make, you know, produce shit. But yeah. And then beyond that, of course, what's the implications of this, man? A fucking, even if it's a mini series or something like that of these characters.
I'm sure there'll be miniseries and one-off series. We went back and forth on this the other day, but I'm not excited about this shit. I'm upset that they announced it so early. We know that fucking Loki comes back again.
Yeah. Unless he's, yeah, because they didn't say these are prequels. They just, well, they also didn't say they weren't prequels. Haven't really officially said anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it could also be,
it could also be alternate timelines. It could be a bunch of things.
Yeah, it could also be as silly as like maybe not really live action. It could be like the Loki Chronicles where you get Hiddleston to do like voiceover work a la Odin and then show animated movies, you know, or some shit like that. The Warriors 3 movies or whatever. I hope to God it isn't that. Like, I hope it's not cheesy. I would like to actually see some bomb ass shit that's actually cinema level production values. And along those same lines, we've already seen what seriously invested in TV, streaming television can look like. Not just in terms of some of the shows that we've seen out there, but I'm talking about like when it comes to a franchise property given the proper treatment. Perfect example, Star Trek Discovery. You know, that shit looks cinematic as fuck. Say what you will about the creature designs, that's another thing entirely. But imagine those kind of production values going into like a Marvel series, like an Iron Fist or a Daredevil or, you know, whomever, however.
Yeah.
And then the other element that is intriguing people talking about was the CGI, because now if this is set up, that means that you actually can include the CGI characters. So like you can have a Spider-Man appear in a Daredevil just with the motion capture suit, and then you have Tom Holland do some voiceover, and as long as the dude's in the costume, you don't need Tom Holland to film shit, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Or it's just an action sequence even, you know, where it's pure CGI. But you know, we'll see. We will definitely see. Like I had an idea for actually a really cool storyline, because he is kind of alive, but it's just a matter of if he can get home or not. But what if you do? Because we talked about this earlier when I was saying that one of the cool things would be if in the coming seasons of the Netflix shows that these heroes had to pick up the slack in the post Thanos Infinity War New York. And then I had a thought last night. I was like, what if instead you actually have like Stark Returns, and you just and this is what you could do on the TV shows that you wouldn't affect the regular film continuity, is you just have Stark activate the Iron Legion, kind of like what they did in Sokovia. Remember how there was the drones, the Iron Man drones, and you just fucking deploy them all over fucking New York City. And so what you have is CGI Iron Men, if you will, popping up throughout the series as just something to deal with. And then you could also imply that into an authoritarian environment. Like, what does martial law look like under, you know, Stark's Iron Legion?
That'd be pretty good.
Yeah, and it's totally doable because it's all CGI. You don't need a fucking actor. Not a speaking role actor, at least. But in any event, moving on. If you want, let's talk about the current shows. Would you prefer, or
All right.
The current shows? I'll let you take that. We've both seen them, but I really liked Lowe's take on Luke Cage and Iron Fist, the latest season 2, both of them.
Yeah, well, let's talk about Daredevil first.
Okay, all right. Yeah, the Daredevil has now dropped 2 trailers. The first was him masked up and actually kind of jacked up in the confessional at a church, kind of doing a monologue. And then the second one is him still kind of beat up again, spotlit and doing a monologue into camera. Like it's just him. It's Matt Murdock in his suit and tie and cane and glasses. Those are the 2. I don't think there's another one, is there?
No, those are the 2 I seen. But the last one that you're talking about, I just seen today. That only further
confirms your thinking.
Yeah, it confirms my theory. Because in that trailer, he's talking about there's only one way to stop crime. And it shows him, masking up and suiting up to beat these motherfuckers down. So he's on the same path that we leave Luke Cage on in Luke Cage season 2.
The life of a G.
Nah, just this hardcore fucking badass that had enough. He has become what the Punisher predicted that he would become.
Oh, that's right. What's that famous? What did he say? You're only a bad day away from becoming me. Is that how?
Yep.
One bad day away from becoming me.
Yeah. So, season 3. If we look back at Iron Fist season 2 and Luke Cage season 2, they pretty much set up Shadowlands, right? That's where I think they're going.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess let's talk about Luke Cage season 2 then.
Well, why don't you explain first before you do that? What is the premise of Shadowlands?
The premise of Shadowlands is, well, it doesn't fit. The things that do fit is basically Daredevil disappears. He kind of goes crazy after Bullseye kills his girl. And he basically decides that, he's going to end crime by becoming the leader of the Hand. And him and the Hand take over New York and they fight. Basically, it's a story. It's a crossover between all the neighborhood heroes in New York.
Interesting.
And all the heroes go against him. And some heroes join him. Colleen Wing ends up joining him through her mother, who is the leader of the Nail. Daughters of the Dragon are pretty much in the middle of it. There's a whole bunch of things that they're setting up now that are in Shadowlands.
In terms of his girl, is it what's her name? The same character that is the secretary, right?
Karen Page?
Yeah. Is it her that gets killed? Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's another one of those, Bullseye always kills her every couple of years.
That's true.
He has to kill her every decade or it's not Daredevil.
Yeah, and Bullseye has been hinted that he's going to be in this season. I don't know who's cast as him, but I'd be very interested in that. Also, for those that don't know, the possibilities of Bullseye brings in something else as well, which could be one of the very first clear hints to the X-Men. Because at a certain point in time, Bullseye is the other person that ends up with adamantium.
Interesting.
You didn't know that? He has an adamantium skeleton, dude. Yeah, he ends up with an adamantium skeleton, just like Wolverine. But somehow doesn't die of cancer, bastards. That's intriguing. It might not go in that direction, or it might conclude on that with her death. Because in a manner of speaking, they already gave him reason enough to be crazy because he's dead, right?
Yeah, I don't think Karen Page will die. There's a lot of things that aren't going to happen, but I do think that's what they're going to set up. He's going to lead the Hand. He's going to come back. I'm pretty sure he'll join up with Luke Cage.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to go against Colleen Wing, the new Iron Fist, Misty Knight.
Mm-hmm.
and fucking Jessica Jones, and hopefully Bushmaster. I want Bushmaster to be a good guy for once.
Yeah, I want him back too. That dude's just too fucking dope. What is the role that Nightshade plays in Shadowlands? Does she play a role in it at
all? She does. I forget which kind of role. She's like a weird character.
And is Elektra also in Shadowlands or no?
Elektra is in Shadowlands. A bunch of people are in Shadowlands.
Interesting.
But
so it's gonna be, so that means it's a hybrid of Born Again, which was the other one that's hinted at. It's a brief Frank Miller run. It was like a 4-issue run, and Shadowlands, which I've been slowly reading, and actually I did do the whole, like you said, you warned me against it, but I started reading the crossover shit outside of the main series.
Yeah,
and it's big, it's big, but they're gonna try and, I guess, a hybrid between that, the Shadowlands and the Born Again miniseries.
Yeah, it's a huge event, and it already works with what they have now, especially if they bring William Fisk back to also go against Daredevil. That'd be dope. Seeing good guys and bad guys align against other good guys and bad guys.
That would be dope. Basically, it's kind of a civil war. I just realized that it's basically civil war, but in Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah, basically, Civil War was a little bit more complex, but it basically is Civil War. It's that big.
Man,
we'll see where they go.
That should be really tight. So then, in that note, so then where does, because you said Luke Cage is in the same spot. You just rewatched Iron Fist and season 2 and Luke Cage season 2. Where do they both leave off, and or how do they get there, and what did you think of it?
Luke Cage season 2, I thought was dope. After the first 4 or 5 episodes. First 4 or 5 episodes, I thought the pacing was kind of blah. It was kind of off. But once the actual story kicks in and things start popping off, it gets dope. But we see Luke Cage supposedly just dealing with his anger problems throughout the whole series. Struggling with his role as sheriff, a never-ending job, a job where there's no bottom, and he's just getting angry and angrier, not knowing what the right thing is to do. And he ends up giving up to his anger, and at the end of the series, we see him as the crime boss.
And in the midst of this, we also see, I don't mind if it's spoilers, is we see the fall of one kingpin, not kingpin, but one crime queen, and the rise and fall of another, which is Bushmaster, who is probably one of the dopest villains that I've seen so far.
Bushmaster's definitely the dopest Netflix villain. His charisma was dope. His backstory was good. The whole how they set up the war between the Stokes and the MacGyvers. But yeah, they both end up falling, and Luke Cage comes in to plug that hole, to be the king of New York after Mariah Hill. Well, after things happen with Mariah Hill. I don't want to spoil it. Fuck spoilers.
All right. We'll stop there on that note. But what I wanted to chime in on is, in my opinion, the last 2 seasons, there's some good shit in the last 2 seasons. Mainly the villains, let's be honest, have been pretty good in Luke Cage. But the depiction of Luke Cage himself, which really we've kind of actually got 3 seasons of, if we include the Jessica Jones run.
Well, and Daredevil. And Defenders.
Oh, and Defenders. The 4 seasons. Fuck. I haven't liked the depiction of it. It's not. It definitely wasn't a revitalized blaxploitation version of him, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but he's never been the fucking cop, right? Like the ex-cop on a redemption run. That was never who the fuck he was in the comics at all. And so, but the thing is this: at the end of this season, which has what has me excited for the next season, is he's set up in such a way that is the where Luke Cage was. Like when they really kind of brought him back and revitalized him. Basically, the bald Luke Cage, right. In his actual proper outfit colors. That shit, fucking, that's the Luke Cage we're having right now. Like that's where it leaves off. So in my mind, it's kind of like the next season is the real Luke Cage finally.
You know? And that's definitely why I like Luke Cage season 2. Well, why I'm so hyped up for Luke Cage again, because I really did think he was bland, like you were saying. He was never a cop. But this season actually made him interesting. Gave him some nuance.
And fallibility, which is the other thing. Yeah, he had nuance, fallibility, vulnerability, and like I said, a brand new villain, because Bushmaster is fucking dope. Like I love everything about that character. And
with him and Mariah Hill, I thought Mariah Hill killed it.
And for once, they didn't fucking kill off somebody like they did with Cottonmouth. like, okay, we have a character that'll be back. And has.
I guess that was the theme of this season, right? Was who are you really?
Yeah, because actually, it does that in every character, right?
Yeah, everyone was trying to find who they really were, how they fit into this world.
Yeah, and I think we may have lost Rosario Dawson, possibly. We'll see, because I know that contractually speaking, she's done, but I just don't see them fading her out completely.
They could bring her back. I think she served her purpose. They're all together now.
Yeah, I think they'll bring her back maybe for a handful of episodes, unless, like you said, they do Daughters of the Dragon. Is that what it's called? Daughters of the Dragon? Yeah. Unless they do that, then she'll have to have a more prominent role. But they segued her out in a good way, because she's now at odds with who he's become too.
Well, she definitely needed to leave Luke Cage. Luke Cage needs to be with Jessica Jones.
I suppose. I know you don't like the actress, Kristen Ritter, right? Like her depiction. But even that, they set up in a weird way, because at the end of Jessica Jones is in a whole other fucking state. She's fucking leaving. I forget where she's driving to. Actually, I think she was driving to New Orleans, wasn't she? I think that's what they said.
She was going somewhere, but all I know is that's if they're going to follow the way their characters, the trajectories in the comics with their relationship.
And also we have the reset coming, because there's gonna be a reset. There has to be. I'm just saying, with the cinematic universe shit, and you're gonna see a tonal shift and or reset anyway, because if it's true that it's going under Kevin Feige, that is a challenge, because Jeff Loeb has been the guy in charge, and it was only 2-3 years ago, maybe a little more than that, where it was all over the entertainment media that there was a battle going on between Feige and Loeb. And that was the one that essentially severed ties between Marvel TV and the films.
Well, we'll see if they stay true to their word.
Like staying out of each other's way, you mean?
Well, they said the merger isn't going to affect a Netflix Marvel.
That's possible. I could see that. You leave him in charge of it.
Yeah. And the way it's going right now, I'm even more convinced that it should stay separate. I mean, the little tie-ins are cool. Like, Luke Cage, we saw Hammer and shit. The Hammer weapons. Those are cool. Just keep it like that.
And we should.
And if you want to take those characters, take them over to the cinematic universe. We don't need cinematic into Netflix. I like the smaller scale stories. They're more human.
Along those same lines, there is actually other shows in the pipeline but they weren't. It wasn't Feige. It wasn't coming from the Marvel studio side of things. So this is the stuff that's coming out of Marvel Entertainment, which is, and I guess we should clarify that. So, at present, Disney owns everything in the world. No, they own Marvel, and under Marvel, it's two primary divisions, which is Marvel Entertainment and Marvel Studios. Marvel Studios is the one that's in charge of the films. And I'm assuming under some subsection of that would be the franchise, or not franchise, the merchandising as related to the films. The other one is Marvel Entertainment, and Marvel Entertainment is in charge of the comic books, the animation shows, the animated shows, and all of the television stuff. And Feige had a very like hands-off relationship. He was just like an executive producer, consultant guy. But the main guy handling that, the Kevin Feige of entertainment side, is a guy named Bob Layton. I'm sorry, Bob Layton. Did I say Bob Layton? Jeff Loeb, I mean. I'm sorry, I don't know why I said Bob Layton. Bob Layton is a former editor-in-chief. Jeff Loeb, and then you also have the current editor-in-chief, whose name I forget, of the Marvel comic thing. And so they're all going in their own kind of independent directions. So having said that, the three in the pipeline that we know of for Marvel Entertainment is number one is New Warriors, which has already been shot and completed. Like they have a whole season in the can. It's just we don't know at present if anyone has picked it up. So it might just end up on this. It'll default to the streaming service, I'm sure, inevitably. But
yeah, I don't think they're going to move anything else to Netflix.
Yeah, but I mean, if there is one, it would be possibly that one, and then the other two in the pipeline, which also probably might end up with Netflix or Hulu or someone, is Blade, which the talk is having female Blade or a team of female Blades, which is I'm assuming might be the Night Stalkers, right? A variation on the Night Stalker storyline, the updated version or something. And
well, they said they wanted to do Marvel Knights.
That's true, and that would bring in the second element, which was Moon Knight as another series.
And Dracula.
Well, they did mention that Blade, since it's back under Marvel, it's a Marvel property now, that it is very likely that you're going to get Morpheus, the living vampire. And
yeah, that's right, man. I said Dracula.
Well, no, you might get Dracula too, because I think Dracula as a character is in the public domain. I don't think it's in I don't think you still have to like give money to the Bram Stoker family, some shit, you know.
Word.
So they could do Dracula, and I don't have a problem with that. When Marvel does horror right, it's fucking dope. Even in the comics, when it does it right, it's dope. It's just a matter of getting the way it's always worked in the comics is dying titles that aren't doing much and they're not overseeing too much. Those writers are given much more latitude to do some shit, and they normally do some cool ass shit. You know, like a perfect example back in the days is the entire origin story of Wolverine, the infamous Weapon X story, was not in the mainline Wolverine comic at all, or the X-Men comic. It was in Marvel Comics Presents. And so you only got it, I think it was like, I want to say 4 to 6 pages at a time, at most, because Marvel Comics Presents was normally a multi-book, like it had like 3 or 4 different stories in it. And that's how you got it, little tastes of it. And so that shit slipped by, and no one fucking noticed until later, and they're like, oh shit, this is dope, this is his origin story type shit, you know. And he's not the only character they've done that with, you know. They did I think they did that with Ghost Rider too, you know. They were able to kind of revitalize a lot of those characters. But and then the other thing was, I think because there's been talks, and it may not have been Blade related, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was. But shit, I'm brain farting all of a sudden. The brother that played Blade, help me out. What's his name? Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes came in for consults with Marvel. So what do you think of that? Of Wesley Snipes as like maybe a producer or consultant?
As a producer, maybe. I don't know how they're going to work with him. He's toxic as fuck.
In what sense? You mean is the tax thing or
Nah, if all those rumors are true about how he acted on set, and it's not even with just the Blade movies, but in all his movies, he's a dick.
Well, I think we discussed this.
I also don't think it's necessary. Why do you need him?
That's true. It might have been something in his contract, like that he had some kind of connection with the character, because he ended up, producer. And he was integral in a lot of the stuff that they were doing in and around that character. I do know what one of the ones I do recommend is I think he did Sway in the Morning interview, and it's a really fucking good interview. We talked about this offline, I think, one time. You actually get a different glimpse of who Wesley Snipes is, and he actually answers all those questions that normally he doesn't answer. And he just happened to be in his comfort zone. And the shit that blew my mind is he really is an actor's actor. And not in the sense of like he's the friend of many actors, but he's a serious thespian type actor.
Yeah, he's really,
which you would never guess.
Takes himself seriously.
Yeah, which I would never guess that based on the type of characters he picks, and his kind of, because everything he plays, he normally is hella bombastic, right? And that is not him at all.
Well, not if you watch some of his smaller films. Like he did a film with Saval Latham that was pretty good, but it's more of a smaller dramatic film.
Interesting.
He definitely has acting chops. I really like Wesley Snipes. I just don't think it's necessary for him to come in with Blade, especially since he can't play him. He's too old.
Yeah, well, he doesn't look that bad, but you're right. It would be a little silly. And we definitely don't need Sticky Fingers coming in and playing him.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was such a bad series. One of the series I do recommend, though, there's actually 2 Blade series that people don't know about. There's 2 Blade animated series. There's an anime Blade series that's pretty fucking dope, to be honest. And then there was a Marvel Knights Blade series, like one of the motion, kind of what they call this, the motion comic type. Yeah. Which I've never seen that one. I've never seen that one. So there's actually been 3 Blade series previous to this, which says to me something. They've made a lot of the mistakes that they were going to make, and so this really puts them in line to like do some fucking shit, because they've already made those mistakes. They've already told the stories, so maybe they can do something fucking really different and get it right, or a fresh version of it.
Yep, they just need the right actor to pull it off.
Yeah. Who would you cast?
Jaden Smith.
For real? Well, he does do Kung Fu. Or at least he learned from the Karate Kid. He is the Karate Kid.
That movie was dope. I don't know who could pull it off. Donald Glover, maybe?
No, well, he could pull it off, but I would think that's a waste of his talent, to be honest.
The only other actors I could think of are big movie actors. They're not going to do it.
So maybe
they'll have to bring up some young, unknown talent.
Actually, you know who would be dope, but I don't think they could get him to do it, is that youngster from Black Lightning. The one that ends up with the spinal injury.
Oh yeah, he could do it.
He would be pretty fucking good, man. Or even, actually, what about the brother from what is his name? Dope? Is that the name of the movie? Dope?
Yeah.
That brother could do it. It's pretty good. Actually, there's a lot of younger.
I don't know if he has the look.
Or maybe some of the people from the since they're already Netflix anyway. Some of the actors from your white people. That'd be a good fan cast. We got to do that. That, and also who would be a good, Mobius or Morpheus. I mean, Morpheus is an actually nuanced character. It's pretty fucking cool if he's done right. And then the other one, of course, that has been discussed, and this has been rumored a long time ago, and we know he's contracted, is Ghost Rider, with the Robbie Reyes character. That actor actually did sign a contract for a potential series deal. So that's one of the reasons that he did the appearance, I guess, in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is so it was kind of teasing the character to see the viability of it. But it wouldn't surprise me if that comes out, because it actually appeals to, at present, underrepresented market in Marvel, which is a Latino market. And
for who?
For Ghost Rider.
Oh.
You didn't see that arc of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Oh man, I don't watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, there was an arc in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. where we got to see Ghost Rider. And it's the Robbie Reyes version of Ghost Rider. And it does reference Johnny Blaze, actually, because you see the origin of Robbie Reyes recounts his origin, and they actually show it. And it looks fucking cool. But the way they shoot it, they don't show you who Johnny Blaze is. So in theory, it actually could be the Nicolas Cage version. Right? But it was really good, actually. Like, the character was surprisingly well done, and they give a lot of background on him. And so he's a worthwhile addition. And he would be Marvel Knights.
Right on. Good shit. Good shit coming up.
What is next on our list? Oh, Iron Fist, dude. We didn't even get talking about Iron Fist.
So, yeah, man. I was gonna say something, but you're on a good run.
Sorry, my bad. Iron Fist. Iron Fist is. I'm gonna let you shine on this one, since I know you fucking hated Iron Fist season 1.
Yeah, that season pissed me off so bad. It made me mad how bad it was. Fucking bringing this wooden ass actor to play a kung fu artist who can't even fucking
do kung fu. Yeah,
can't even do kung fu, can't even throw a high kick. But this season was sick. It was written so much better, and I take back the whole wooden actor thing, because he's been good. Yeah. And everything else. He has a little charm to him. He's funny. You could take him seriously. You see him as the Iron Fist fan. Like, all right, this guy could be a badass.
I would also say he seems more comfortable. He didn't seem very comfortable in the first one. And part of the vibes of that was, I think he was uncomfortable, not just with the martial arts and shit, but I think with the genre of comics. And he's a Brit, and it kind of showed, in my opinion. You know, like it just vibed weird.
Yeah, this one was much better. The writing was way better. The characters were way better. Like you said, all the characters have their own arc. Mm-hmm. I really like the themes of relationships. And just everything was done. It was so... Here's the crazy thing about it. The season ends with Danny Rand not being Iron Fist anymore.
Yeah, which is another interesting thing.
And the way you feel at the end of it is, this feels right, but also, man, I really like Danny Rand now. I hope he stays around.
Yeah, I was surprised at that feeling too. I'm like, wait, no, he's leaving. Fuck.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like in that.
Oh, this is a good choice, but then also like, fuck, man, he needs to stay. We've seen too much of him.
But hopefully we got, because we didn't mention this, we're talking about Nick Cage and Luke Cage is we got a tease in the Luke Cage season 2 of Power Man and Iron Fist, and it is dope. It is not like fucking Defenders. You know, Defenders, you thought you'd get that tease, but it didn't feel right. But the one in Luke Cage, you're like, fuck, I could watch this show. Just the two of them doing Power Man and Iron Fist.
Yeah, they complement each other well.
And they finally got that tonally right. Oh, man.
But yeah, it was so good. We had Typhoid Mary show up, who was super sick. Believe she was a psychopath.
Yeah,
Her whole little
definitely.
face. I wanted them to fight so bad. I was like, oh shit.
And Davos is another one. Davos, like in the first season, but in the second season, he has teeth, man. You
He
know?
really makes you hate him.
Yeah, he does, and he's fucking psychopathic.
Yeah.
You know? And the other interesting thing, and I mentioned this one,
But that's interesting because that now that I'm thinking about it, that's another parallel between the path that Daredevil, Luke Cage, and Luke Cage is on, is the path that Davos was on.
yeah, this kind of absolutism,
Yeah.
like a Manichean absolutism, because his whole thing is like, no, we just need to destroy them all, and then that goes too far, right? Like originally it was punishing, for lack of a better term, the wicked and the evil, the obviously evil, like murderer type shit. But then he starts going for fucking petty shit as any kind of deviation.
Yeah, they really mapped this season out pretty well. There's a lot of smart things going on here. The decision to turn it more into an ensemble cast,
Mm-hmm.
the struggles that they gave everybody, like the way they balanced the drama with the action and the intrigue, it all blended very well. You finally give a shit about Danny Rand's family.
Yeah, yeah, they flip the characters around. Not flip. Well, they do flip them around, but it's really interesting because they show a hard edge to
Well, they
Danny.
flipped at the end of season 1.
Yeah, that's true, but you didn't get a depth of it because in the first season one, his cousins are split between one. I forget the guy's name. His male cousin is the fucking is an asshole. Like you're just like this guy is an asshole and he's sleazy. And then where you actually have empathy with the dude's sister because she seemingly has compassion and understanding for Danny. And then they flip the whole shit around. They make the guy that you can't like, you like him. And they make the girl that you had nothing but empathy and sympathy for, you're like, oh shit, she has a dark side. You know, like
Yeah, and they explored in such a way and in such a depth to where the decisions they made in season 1 finally make sense, and you see the weight of those decisions.
um
You finally understand why the girl did flip so bad, because she did love her dad, who she thought was dead, and then he came back, and then they killed him again, and how that impacted her. That show was crazy.
yeah, because she felt she had been lied to her whole life.
Yeah,
And then also the weird affinity she has with Typhoid Mary. And then the
right.
implications of Typhoid Mary. Typhoid Mary has many nuanced implications. One of the main ones you mentioned, and now I'll have you elaborate on it, is the connection with Scovia. You want to elaborate on that?
Oh yeah, that was her whole backstory. Her whole backstory of being Typhoid Mary. She's in Sokovia as a prisoner for years, right?
Mm-hmm. And she was a former like special forces, something like that.
Right, and
Army person.
at that time, she knew she had two split personalities. There was Typhoid Mary Walker, and there was Walker,
Yeah.
who she is in Luke Cage 2, the badass fucking mercenary, and there was Mary, who is just a sweet innocent little girl. And so her whole struggle was trying to. Man, you elaborate on it because I don't even have the words. It's so complicated.
Well, I mean, she is in the comics. She gets even more complicated because there's another subtext to this.
We'll just talk about the show.
Well, in the show, actually, she kind of pulls the fucking Joker move. We're not. If we really think about it, if we step back from it, we don't know if any of that's true. You know, the only stuff we can kind of take for granted, somewhat, is the brief shots and elements that come from the military file that Homegirl gets on her, right? There's some elements in that we can take as legit, but then there's a whole other thing going on with that character. It's multiple personality disorder, and also kind of certain effects. Not or affect, because she has an, what do they call that, like an affective changeover, right? The change, borrowing from some of the language from Fight Club. Her changeover can get induced by running water.
Yeah.
And so it can be as simple as like, oh shit, it starts raining, and then you're fucked. like, all of a sudden she shifts gears and she doesn't remember shit about what she was doing. And then you find out one of the personalities is actively manipulating the other fucking personality, you know, giving them false impressions of what they're about, what they're doing, all that sort of shit, and also trying to suppress her. And the very last element, which is right with the comics, is you find out there isn't just two fucking personalities. There is others. Now,
That's what it was in Sokovia. So the whole background of Sokovia, we only see through Mary's eyes at first.
Mm-hmm.
And Mary's whole presumption is that she was rescued from Sokovia by Walker. Walker took over.
Mm-hmm.
And ended up getting her to escape. And I guess the whole time she was in there, she was getting sexually abused. She was getting beaten, basically tortured every day.
You know what just occurred to me too?
Yeah, she thought it was Walker. And then Walker ends up finding the truth, and it was neither of them. Walker assumed that it was Mary. That Mary convinced somebody to help her.
Mm-hmm. What's interesting too, it just occurred to me, is this may lean into a different type of origin story for the mutants, because what they might do with the mutants is because this has to do with, I should rewind. Typhoid Mary in the comics is a mutant. Her mutant power has to do with her multiple personalities, because one of the things that comes out later is each personality has different fucking powers, and she can't access them across personalities, right?
Yeah, one's a telekinesis, one's a pyro.
Yeah, and they're all not all nuts. Some of them are actually pretty benevolent, but others are fucking psychotic. Just fucking off the chain psychotic. So this means that they've introduced another mutant. So far, that's 4 mutants that we've seen.
The Netflix version of Split.
Yeah, but here's the thing that just occurred to me. In setting up Sokovia, and because of the limited view we got, actually this could fit into the Quicksilver Scarlet Witch origin story, because she could have been experimented on in captivity in the same way that they were.
Yeah.
And that is in Marvel Comics, it's another alternative origin story for Scarlet Witch. There's like 3 of them, but one is that Scarlet Witch and the most popular one everyone knows, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are the children of Magneto. But there's a second one, which is about the High Evolutionary, who is kind of an operative of the Celestials, which they've been hinted at already in the MCU. That's the dudes you're seeing when Benicio del Toro is talking about the origins and history of these Infinity Gems. That's that big giant things you're seeing, and also Ego, the living planet, right? They say is a Celestial. That they populated Earth, and that is a storyline called Earth X, a variation on Earth X, which was Alex Ross story. But in any event, in that story, that becomes an alternative thing. So in a way, the Celestials plant the genetic seeds that creates mutants.
So as far as the show goes, where do you think that takes us?
Well, what I'm thinking is that could be, we're all assuming, a lot of people are assuming, their question about how they bring the mutants in is really a question of when they bring the mutants in, and they're analyzing it from a character point of view. They're not analyzing it from the universal structural point of view, right? Because you could just do the radiation argument. But what if, in fact, Kevin Feige said, because that's what they do. They have these discussions about the multiple origins of the characters and the various stories of characters that are drawn from the comics. And then they do a composite of the stuff that they like the best. And that's the character they represent in the cinematic universe. And so I'm wondering if they're doing that with the concept of mutation itself. Because, like maybe that could, like, there could be an Infinity Gem catastrophe that creates the mutants, right? It could also be House of M. It could also be these already existing mutations, or mutants have already always been there, right? We don't know because they haven't really told us. But that what I'm getting at is this: in her case, that could be a hidden background story that they bring up, because they've already done that in Agents of Shield. They've actually shown alternative characters that in events and as related to the World War II era of the Marvel Universe. So they actually brought back, for example, you actually see who's the dude that becomes the computer? He's in Captain America Civil, the first one.
Yeah, the doctor dude, the scientist.
Yeah, just forgetting his name off the top of my head. But they bring back as a computer. Well, in some flashback sequences that are in Agents of Shield, you actually see him up until I think I want to say 1950s, 1970s, somewhere in there. So you actually see him again. In the same essence, I think they might do that with Typhoid Mary, is that you find out that maybe she was experimented upon and maybe that's how she escaped. Like, that they activate a latent mutant power and then someone makes a tear and escapes. Or maybe she's intentionally let loose on the world. And
I think they set it up to be like it was Typhoid Mary.
That she's just a naturally nuts.
No, I think that she will be a mutant, but I think it would, it's the third personality that I'm guessing has like pyrokinesis, however the fuck you say that, powers. And she just blew that shit up and they escaped.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
That's what I'm thinking happened. That's kind of how they set it up, because she leaves saying like, "There's someone else I need to find,"
and then blows it up. I didn't think about that. That's fucking viable. And so we're gonna see some shit, man. Shit's coming.
Yeah. The other thing I think that people are overlooking, or it just may be me overthinking, is the whole criminal element in all these shows.
In what sense? Like the destruction of the crime syndicates or their operation, or what?
Well, that they're still there, that they still exist, and that they're going to be major players later on.
Like, that's
which I think it also plays into the whole, again, Shadowlands thing.
We should, like, one thing that should be known is, aside from Luke Cage, which takes place in Harlem, everything else is Hell's Kitchen. But actually, we're really getting, how would I put it? When it comes to the cinematic universe, New York is essentially a backdrop. You don't ever actually live in New York per se. It's just hinted at. Even in Spider-Man, Spider-Man is like, he's from Queens, but the particular stories that we've seen him in take him out of Queens, right? That's pretty much what they consistently do. But in terms of the developing expanded Marvel universe, the people really creating the geography of New York, the nitty-gritty geography of New York, is Netflix. And in that regard, they've been creating an interesting map, an intricate map of the crime syndicates, the neighborhoods that are being run, and who and like what businesses they're in, how they're operating, things like that. And then actually the one you pointed out to me the other day, which I had no idea about, we actually got to see the Baxter Building, which the implications of that is pretty startling as well, because that could mean that maybe Fantastic Four is not going to come back as a cinematic thing, but instead might come back as television. Because, like you said, the building is not spectacular, right?
Well, it's just being built.
Yeah, so so that actually answers the question about whether or not Avengers Tower becomes the Baxter Building. And so, and unless, of course, maybe that is the tower, because that's the other thing that people have talked about is time, like the setting of the film. Like, when are the shows actually taking place time-wise? So
Right.
I think we talked a little bit too much about Iron Fist. But that says a lot that we actually could say anything that much about Iron Fist. Because I think before, what we could have, like, in our own personal conversations, like, can we get past Iron Fist now? There's nothing to talk about. I'd rather forget that show exists.
Yeah, and I did.
And then now we're like, oh man, this happened and this was dope and that was dope, and you know.
Well, that's the other thing too. It ended with Danny Rand. Danny Rand is still in play. He may not be Iron Fist anymore, but he's still in play, and he has the previous Iron Fist guns.
Oh, and the hint. You want to give him the Coda hint. Who do they drop a tease of at the end?
Olsen Randall. Olsen Randall. That was the not the original Iron Fist, but he was a previous Iron Fist who actually knew Danny Rand's father. But he was in like the World War I era, and he fought with guns that he shot, chi energy out of. And I guess the chi energy is still there because we see Danny Rand pull those out and just pop bullets out of the air at the end.
Which is pretty fucking dope looking, to be honest. And I think definitely fits the actor a little better. So hopefully that'll be the new orientation.
Yeah, that'd be dope. He doesn't even need. He might become Iron Fist again, but the way they set him up and the way they've been doing him in season 2 and when he showed up in Luke Cage, he doesn't need the Iron Fist.
Mm-hmm. And also cinematic possibility wise, folks are listening. Imagine Hard Boiled, John Woo style Hong Kong gunfights, but you have Danny Rand doing it.
Yeah, that jumping.
With the kung fu with the other people doing it, that could be fucking dope. Basically you totally turn into the Hong Kong cinema aesthetic, all of its core elements.
That'd be dope. We get a slow motion shot of Danny Rand walking down the street with his trench coat on and a bunch of doves flying slow motion of the road.
Well, actually, we're getting the church shots with fucking Daredevil, right? It's only a matter of time we get that he's walking through the pews,
Should be tight.
Oh, that'd be funny, man. Oh shit. The next one was moving on. Speaking of other new shows, Netflix and The Last Airbender.
Oh, you're just getting into that? Should have did that when we were announcing shows.
Yeah, I know. I just a little out of sequence. My bad.
Yeah, they announced Last Airbender. That shit's dead.
And since we last talked about it, I did find out some stuff. So the executive producers and showrunners are the actual creators of the original Last Airbender. And they are supposedly writing new material. So you're gonna get the best of both worlds: a live action Last Airbender by the people that created the Last Airbender, and additional shit.
Yeah, and it's gonna be appropriately casted.
Hopefully.
Finally. Well, they said they made a statement.
Oh, they did? Oh, okay.
Yeah. They straight up said that we are, it's not going to be whitewashed. They're going to appropriately cast this fucking endeavor.
That's awesome, because it's going to be a great opportunity for some actors, that would to show their teeth.
Yeah, and it benefits as a series because now you don't have an overstuffed movie like we got with Shyamalan's.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited. I can't wait for more. I'm going to be paying attention to this. I just want to see who they're going to announce as actors yet.
Across the board.
Yeah, the fact that it's the main people doing it, that's enough for me. They got me sold. Just need more news.
More, or better yet, which
Netflix is killing it, man, as far as animation goes.
Yeah.
I still need to watch that Bleach movie. I heard it wasn't that good, but I got to watch it.
Well, I know that whoever's at Netflix, they have some good fucking people picking their shows, like ironic. You know what, dude? I just realized, to you people out there, and hopefully some of my certain friends don't ever hear this podcast, but I have an in at Netflix at the highest level. And so maybe I can get some leaked info, or get us on a list maybe of like what do they call those, like beta viewers or whatever.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
I'm gonna try and find out, dude. I'm gonna try and see if I can, or maybe even if I can get an interview. Who knows? Because yeah, that would be fucking shit. But they've been like, I've actually commented. My Connect isn't on, unfortunately, isn't on the content end. It's on the tech end, but they're high enough that content will listen. But I've been commenting on that. The content wise, particularly in terms of their international attention, is really fucking good. Like they're constantly acquiring and producing new content that tailors to a broader audience that isn't just your standard American one. And
that's really where you're going to find the most interesting stuff anyways, is overseas.
And they have a good kitschy person in terms of like they're tapping into some hot shit, like in terms of like, for example, some of the shows that they've saved and brought back, right? Those are not a bad idea. And then even shows that they've resurrected, from in anime and in regular television and in the comics world, they've like we talked about briefly before, is they bought all of Rob Liefeld shit, his Image shit. So basically, they own the rights to Extreme Studios and all of his characters, so all those Youngblood characters and shit like that. And personally, I know that if all the Image shit comes up for acquisition, which is really going to be a hot property probably when McFarlane's Spawn comes out, it would not surprise me if Netflix goes all out and says, no, we'll fucking buy it. Because they're going to have something that is franchise worthy that can compete, right? Because the other ones are monopolized already. Warner Brothers and Marvel Fox, right? And so Disney. And what was it? Who was it Warner Brothers merged with? I forget.
I don't know. Paramount?
Was it? What? It might have been, yeah.
I don't know. They're all merged together with a bunch of shit now.
But yeah, Netflix doesn't have a choice, because what's going to happen? They're going to pluck all their shit,
They already are, but Netflix has been doing very well in the original content shit as well.
Yeah, it's damn sure. I've watched a bunch of shit where I was like, fuck, that's good. Like, I'm actually really interested in a new one they just dropped called Maniac. I don't know if you heard about that one.
Yeah, I have heard of it.
Yeah. Mostly because I'm interested in the actor. We'll see if it's any good. But
Michael Rappaport also has a show in there that's pretty good.
Oh, I just saw that. Is that the one where he plays like the teacher or something, or principal or some shit?
No, I was talking about the one where he plays the father of the autistic kid.
Oh, it's a drama?
No, it's a comedy.
Maybe that's the one I'm thinking of. All I saw was the little write-up of it, and I saw it has a picture of like 3 kids, and he's in the background. That's probably the same one, is my guess. And I love fucking Rappaport, so I was like, let's put that in my queue with the quickness.
Atypical is what it's called.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one.
They just did season 2. The first season was pretty dope.
Oh shit! I didn't know they were on season 2. I gotta check that out then for sure. And then one of the ones I don't think we talked about it, was of course Matt Groening's new series on Netflix as well.
Oh yeah, I still haven't seen that.
It's pretty fucking good. It's not as good as Futurama in my opinion, but Futurama is a gem unto itself. This one is interesting though. Definitely more adult.
Yeah, I gotta watch it. I seen the first episode. It's pretty funny, but I just never went back to it.
Yeah, well, life, like you said, man, you don't have time or interest or the attention span to watch shows all the time. It's more so about movies, which I can totally relate to.
Yeah, I'm all about movies. TV, I'm a little lost on, unless it has to do with Marvel and shit. Or it's a Netflix thing where I could just binge it all in one go.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely isn't the same as like sitting there.
But it still has to be good enough to binge. Fucking Luke Cage 2 took me forever. Fuck.
Now I get it though. I didn't know that you were like just so turned off by the first 4 episodes, but now that you mention it and I'm thinking back on the episodes, I'm like, yeah, those first 4 episodes are slow as fuck. You know, like
yeah, it's like I don't want to keep watching this.
You know,
Boring as shit.
and then the same thing with like fucking Iron Fist. At least Iron Fist jumped into the shit though quick. That it did do.
Yeah, I didn't really have any problems with the pacing of Iron Fist. I flew through that.
Which is pretty fucking good for a show that no one like it. Like, you know, if you'd asked us a couple weeks ago, fuck that show.
I know, right? Fuck that show. Fuck Iron Fist. I hope he's dead. It stays that way.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, oh yeah, the white dude show. Yeah, I really give a fuck. No, I don't give a fuck. God damn it. You know, like, oh man.
Shall we save until next time?
Yeah, I think, did we hit everything? Every bit on our notes? Because you want to talk about. Oh, I see. You bumped it to next week.
We can save things. I mean, been talking. We're going at it for a while.
Oh, okay, that's true. We're going to add it for more than an hour.
Yeah.
Let's give it to me, man.
All right.
I will hit it. What's your plans for the day, by the way?
Not much. I gotta go to work later. But until then, nada.
Hold on 1 second. There it is.